Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of That 80s Child, the Generation Y. And my name is Gabrielle. Sorry, I'm fixing my microphone. All right, so this is episode 12. I actually have the next two planned. I'm sorry that I'm getting this out. Today is Tuesday, the 7th of May. I didn't even record it. I was doing really well, but my mom takes a lot, and sometimes I just don't feel like coming up here to record. So anyway, so episode 12, snacks and drinks of our childhood. Now there are some I come to realize I had to refresh my memory. There was just a few that I was like, I definitely want to talk about these because I loved them and I wish they were back. And because of the surge of nostalgia, especially with social media, TikTok, and the reels and stories and all that, and people doing YouTube videos about nostalgia and podcasts, there's a lot of companies who are utilizing that nostalgia for some of the products, because there were some products that were discontinued for other reasons other than just not being popular. So some of them could have been a danger, or they just didn't want it out there anymore. Maybe something in the recipe or the packaging, it didn't matter. But so there are some of these that are still out, and I'll mention it, that either have changed the recipe, changed the look of it, or they're just out for a limited time as a nod to nostalgia and all that. I made the list out of ones that I've either seen or have also seen and had tried, or my mom had tried it, or it was in the house and I might have had a bit of it or something like that. So, but because I'm fat, snacks and drinks would probably be I did a lot more of that than listening to proper music in the 90s. First is the Keebler Pizzeria's pizza chips. They were just out for 1 year, 1991. I don't know why it didn't really go into why they just went down. I think because personally, I think it's because Doritos, and you had all these other chip companies that had better products, and you weren't really expecting a Keebler. You're looking for cookies, okay, when you're looking at Keebler. So I do remember the bag. I wasn't huge on pizza flavored stuff. I love pizza, but pizza flavored things it's just not pizza to me. It's just a cherry. I love the dark cherries, the Bing cherries, but I'm not huge on maraschino cherries, right? So when you have something that's a cherry flavor, it could taste either of medicine or just of this sick kind of overly sweet thing, not an actual cherry. So that's just like watermelon. Watermelon is the fake watermelon flavor. Strawberry is the same. It's just over exaggerated or just not at all. Watermelon, I swear to God, just does not taste like watermelon at all. Anyhow, so I didn't have these. They weren't something I ate. The pizza chips. I don't, like I said, I don't like really anything that's pizza flavored. Just give me a pizza. So there's that. Now this one, Snackwell's Devil's Food Cookies, excuse me. So there was a cake and a cookie in one. Now, my mom had gotten these, and I tried them. They had a cream filling, and I know I'm strange. I don't really like cream. So I did try it. The actual part that's a cake, the chocolate cake, was very good. They were released as supposed to be a better alternative, especially when it came to if you're dieting. It had less calories and it had a better flavor for you to be snacking on something that instead of just cardboard, because that's just having the rice cakes. My mom used to have them all the time. Now there's a white cheddar rice cake that my mom used to get. This probably still out. I don't get rice cakes right now, but I really liked them. So if you wanted to have something that had just a richer flavor, that the Snackwells was the thing to go to. And they were out, and the popularity was 1993 to 1996. However, the Snackwell, the brand, went out of business in 2022. I don't know if it was taken over or just defunct. Now, Betty Crocker Shark Bites fruit snacks. Now, I see this a lot when it comes to the now 90s nostalgia. People memes about nostalgia, how they were great. Everybody misses them. The fact is that they are still out currently. They came out in 1988. They were made popular by the commercials because it was supposed to give it, like, there were fruit snacks out. It wasn't like the first fruit snacks ever. It's just that they were made to be like, give it a more oomph against it, that it had sharks. So it was like supposed to be like, exciting, and had the different flavor, like the white, and then they had the the great white shark, which wasn't my favorite, sorry. I still like fruit snacks. If I wanted to spend $1 million, which is, I feel like that's how much the anything is anymore, maybe I'll splurge and get some Gushers, even though I feel like you get like 2 in a pack nowadays. But they are still out. However, they do not have the same shape, so why bother calling them Shark Bites? And then apparently the flavor is different. I haven't tried it, but according to like reviews and stuff, it's a different recipe that they're using, or I don't know. They changed something. So it's out for, I don't know if they did it. They never stopped making it. So it's just, they're not like commercialized as much as they were in the 90s. And again, they changed the flavor, so it's stupid. This one, Planters PB Crisps. I didn't like the peanut butter stuff because the only peanut butter that I like in a chocolate is the Reese's peanut butter cups. Other ones that have like a flavor, again, just give me peanut butter. I'll take a cracker and I'll dip it in peanut butter myself. You don't need to put in whatever disgusting type of peanut butter that you put in this. So I liked the ones that were like the chocolate cream. They were I loved those things. Now, they came out in 1992. They stated it didn't sell well, and that they said that many people didn't, according to like online, said there was like huge hype, that people said it was popular, that they loved it. But according to Planters, the sale, it was just, they didn't make the money off of it. And they don't have any plans to revive them either, which is a shame because I love those things. I did. They were one of the ones that were, it was harder to find the chocolate cream more than there was the peanut butter ones. I think there was a couple of other flavors. No, there was only 3 flavors. I don't know what the other one was, but yeah, it's a shame because they were very good. This one, I do remember these, and I did eat these. I'm not a huge fan of Lifesavers, like the candy. They are candy, obviously. The fruit flavored ones. I like the mints. I'm more into like the mint side of it. I don't like the fake fruit flavors. Give me some fruit. But these are Lifesaver Holes. They came out in 1990, and then they got recalled in 1991 because it was a choking hazard. Now, they said it was because of the cap part of it, of the actual casing for it, and they're little pebbles that you're eating. So either parents were allowing their smaller kids to have these, and they were choking on them, and also giving them the whole packaging, so they had to discontinue it. It wasn't like, I'm not devastated over it. It wasn't like, oh my God, you go get a Lifesaver. If you want a smaller one, cut it up. Just, break it up a bit. So they're no longer. Mars Kudos granola snack. This is another one that was my mom. So you have granola bars. I love granola bars, so I don't have a problem with it, but there are ones that are very, very dry, especially like Nature Zone, the original. I still like them, but they're just dry. So the Kudos granola snack had the chocolate over top of it, so that it was giving you more of it's kind of like the Snackwell stuff. It was just like you were eating something and you felt like it was more decadent than like, here is your sawdust and enjoy. So apparently it disappeared after Mars acquired the Kind bars, which are not, I don't like them, but that was in 2019. So they just kind of vanished. I don't know where they went. I don't know how long they were out. They don't really have like a date. 2019, that was just done. They just have Kind bars out now. Betty Crocker's fruit string things. Betty Crocker is pretty much the #1 fruit snacks thing, I would have to say. So string things, I do remember this, and it was just like a long string, and they had it in all different types of flavor, like cherry, strawberry, I believe watermelon. However, I did feel though that the consistency of the string thing, I preferred, like, they had fruit by the foot at the same time. And I liked that, like, fruit roll-up type of thing rather than, like, the string part of it. Like, if I wanted to have something that's strawberry flavored, and, like, I would have a Twizzler. I love Twizzlers. So, not the black licorice. That's disgusting. My mom likes licorice. Ew. Yeah, the string things, like, we had them. They were all right. It wasn't one of those things that I'm like, I wish they had them. Like, it's all right. It was there. So they were made in the early 90s and they stopped in the early 2000s. Pop-Tarts did pastry swirls, and I do remember these. I don't recall if we had them because usually it had like strawberry or something, and it was just the icing was in like swirls, and it was supposed to be kind of like their competition to toaster strudels, which toaster strudels made a direct like marketing up against Pop-Tarts, because if you remember any of those commercials where I think their slogan was something new has popped up for breakfast. I think that's what it was, because they would constantly have like the parents giving them over like a Pop-Tart bag. And they're like, and they're like, oh, you should try this. And it's like this nice hot thing that has like, nice pastry. And I do, believe me, I love toaster strudels, but I also love the your basic cinnamon sugar Pop-Tart. They're great, especially when they're hot. I know people can eat them when they're not put in the toaster, but I prefer them when they're in from the toaster. Just saying. So they stopped that because it was done in the late 90s and they stopped in 2001. And they stopped it because most of their consumers were saying that they liked the full icing on the basic Pop-Tart rather than just the swirl part of it. So Fun Dip, it is still around, but I know that it was like a surge in anything that was like sour, really sugary, where you had like a lollipop or something like that, and you put that syrup on it, so it was like super sugarfied or super sour and sugar. I wasn't like, I do love like candy, do not get me wrong. I'm like more into like that stuff rather than chocolate, but it was just too much for me, and I suffered from like migraines when I still get migraines, but not anywhere near as frequently or anywhere near as bad when I was a teenager, especially in school. It was stress, I'm telling you. It would bother me. So it was something that would like cause a migraine to possibly come up. So I didn't eat that, but my brother absolutely loved Fun Dip. Now, if you don't know what Fun Dip is, they're like these little envelope packets of sugar, some flavored sugar, and you would get this sugared stick. It was just a stick that was made out of pure, like kind of like a Smarties, but I think it was sour. Like I said, I didn't eat it. My brother did. He loved it. And you would just like, you lick it, you just pop it in, and it'd be covered in that sugar. And I'm surprised people didn't have like die of like like your heart bursting out of or have diabetes now. I don't know. So it's just like, but it's still out. So, and those other things, if you watch any of those, they come up because there's a couple of ASMR videos that I don't mind, and these other ones will come up as like for eating, and I can't stand people chewing. Even like when I edit this and I can hear like any type of like moisture coming from my mouth, I will edit that out, or I will redo it, because I can't, it doesn't sit well with me. I don't like people when they eat with their mouth open or chew gum like a disgusting pig. It's just keep all that stuff in your mouth. Okay, I don't need to see it nor hear it. So, but anyway, this ASMR thing, they have like the candy where they're eating all this types of candy or things that are made of candy, or they candied strawberries and stuff like that, and they have the Fun Dip and the stuff that has like the sugar syrup all over it. It's just like, I wonder how frequently they do videos like that and how their health is, or their teeth for that matter. Anyway, Fun Dip is made by Wonka. I don't really know. I don't know what company. I should have looked that up. Who cares, really, right? It's still out if you want it. Anyway, Squeeze It, from 1985 to 2001, and it was like sporadically available, because I do recall getting one for a couple for my son, because it said sporadically up until like 2012. It was like, because I remember you could get them at Wawa for a little while. I don't know if they still have them, because they were like, it was like a suction cup thing on the door of one of the refrigerated area, and it would just be like 3 or 4 of them. It wasn't like you had a ton of them, and I would get my son them, but I didn't like that because I'm not too keen on like flavored juices. Even though most juices, like not actual juice, cran apple juice is pretty much my go-to. They used to have, now I know in like off-brand stuff, so not like Ocean Spray. So Bowl and what was it, Bowl and Basket, that which is ShopRite, or um, what do they have for? Oh my god, I can't remember. Whatever Walmart is, it was like Sam's, but it's not. The juice is not that. But anyway, so the Ocean Spray had a ruby red tangerine that was excellent. They have a Bowl and Basket or a off-brand variety of ruby red grapefruit and tangerine, and it just doesn't taste the same. Like, it's okay, but it just doesn't taste the same. I feel like they have more of the grapefruit side of it, which can be very bitter or sour. It really depends. And I miss that. So they don't have that anymore, but they have all these other stupid flavors out. All right, so Clearly Canadian. It's a sparkling flavored water. Didn't drink it. Don't like sparkling water. I don't need carbonated water. I'll just drink water. This is for people who don't like to drink straight up water, but they want to have like their water intake. It's carbonated. I don't understand how that's it. I find it to be the driest drink when it's like supposed to be thirst quenching. I don't know. So that came out in 1987, and 2021 the company was in litigation. So the company's still around. I don't know whether or not they still make that drink or not, but I do remember it around. I think my mom had gotten it. She loved sparkling water, especially when she was on Weight Watchers. She would have the big, huge Weight Watchers water jug. So I guess the equivalent now would be those giant, enormous Stanley thermoses with water, and then she would get like, what was it, cran grape concentrate from Ocean Spray, and then put a little bit of that and mix it in so it would be flavored. Now, I don't care, just as long as it's ice cold water. That could be Fiji water because that's like the best water. I don't care if Poland Spring, whatever, or our old well water. I miss our well water so much. One, it was the coldest water coming right out of the tap, and also it just tasted so much better than this disgusting Camden County water. Ugh. All right, anyway. So, Pepsi Blue. This isn't technically 80s or 90s. It actually came out in 2002 to 2004. And I believe this was like the huge thing where they were trying to get all the different colors, because I believe Mountain Dew came out with that Red Zone one. They were just trying to get some crazy colors, also trying to go up against like Gatorade had crazy colors. But it was an overall flop. So it was out for 2 years. People were not buying it or getting it. Like, they just, if they wanted something, they would get Pepsi, period. Then they had another one that I didn't know about. It was from 1989 to 1990. It's called Pepsi AM. Now, the reason why I probably didn't hear about it is because I'm sure my parents didn't want me to drink it, because apparently it had 25% extra caffeine. So beyond what they currently had in the Pepsi soda, they put an extra 25% of caffeine into it, and it was marketed as a morning drink. So I guess instead of a coffee or a energy drink, I don't know what's an energy drink, so maybe they have just as much caffeine in it, but that's a lot. So it had a poor reception and didn't have really great sales, so that just kind of just went by the wayside, to the point where I don't recall it, but my mom and dad weren't huge. My dad would have coffee, but not, it wasn't like a must have, so I don't think that, it just wasn't in our house. And I was too young to need it AM, okay? Doritos 3D. I know that they have a 3D Doritos out now, but it's only similar. It is not the same. So they discontinued the original Doritos 3D in 2003. I miss it because they just had your regular nacho cheese flavor and the Cool Ranch flavor. Now they have like the hot flavor and something else. I'm like, can't you just do the 3D? I don't know if it's exactly the same. I don't know if because I've never bought the new one, but because it doesn't have any flavors that I want. So, like, what the hell? Now, still on the Doritos train, do you remember Doritos Cooler Ranch? Because if you remember Doritos Cooler Ranch, great. There are pictures of it. However, when I go onto like Wikipedia or just Google it, there is just pictures of it and people who are asking questions about it and where did it go and why did it get discontinued. And there's also the possibility of it being a Mandela effect. If you guys know what, I'm sure you know what Mandela effect is, if, unless you've been living under a rock. Whether or not you believe in all of that, do you remember Cool Ranch? I know I did because I love Cool Ranch. That's my favorite Dorito flavor. Cooler Ranch was marketed to be, like, from what I can recall, if it's a real thing, to have more of that seasoning, that the ranch flavor on it. And of course, like, I like Cool Ranch because I love that flavor. So if you put more on each, because you know, like, you look through the bag. I don't know if you guys do it, but I like look through the bag to find like the one that has the most covering of it, and those are the first ones that I select. Probably gonna die of the salt intake, but it's so good. So it's hard to find info on it. It was discontinued for sure. It's not out anymore. Well, I think in actual other European countries it's called Cool American Ranch or something like that. It's like has American in the title, which I find hilarious. I don't know why. Why does that make that an American thing? What does is ranch just an American? I don't understand. So the other thing was Skittles bubblegum. I don't recall Skittles bubblegum, but I saw pictures of it on there. I absolutely loved bubblegum. I still like gum, but I think I had more of a want for it when I was younger because I wasn't unable to have it while I was in school. You were not allowed to chew gum in school. Now, whether or not, I don't know if they do that in public schools. You shouldn't be chewing gum, I guess. If you're making a ridiculous amount of noise, like you're flapping your gums when you're chewing, then no, you do not chew your gum because I don't do that. Or snapping it, making bubbles all over the place. But if you're just chewing it just to, it's like a nervous thing, or for helping concentration, or just something like if you're hungry and you know you're in between meals and it's just something to chew on or whatever. I don't see how it's a problem, but I guess like if you are blanketing it so that not everybody can do it, then I guess I understand that you can't just be pick and choosing this. Like you don't know how to chew, so no for you, but you're okay. Lunchables, burgers, and hot dogs. I do remember these, but I would never purchase it. The only Lunchable that I ever bought was your basic Lunchable with like ham and turkey, and then the white cheddar and the orange cheddar with that squeeze like Dijon mustard. I miss that so much. And it would have crackers. Now, my brother would eat the meats, and I would eat the cheese. Actually, just the white cheddar cheese, because I'm like I don't really like orange cheese. I don't know why. I'm just weird, but that we would share it. So I mean, it was one little like Lunchable, but that Dijon mustard kind of pretty much made everything for me. But they don't do that anymore. I don't like, the reason why I would never have the burgers or the hot dogs, because I don't like in freezers when they have like the breakfast sandwiches or the burgers and stuff that you just throw in the microwave. There's a very odd flavor. I guess it's just like freezer flavor. I don't like it. It just completely messes up the whole entire flavor for me. I just can't do it. Like, I just can't. It's just not good. So I can't imagine the Lunchables ones being any. If you can hear the background noise, I apologize, because my mom's home from daycare and I have Gordon Ramsay on in the background. She chills to that. Okay, so if it's bad, then I'm going to redo this. So Orbits, that came out in 1996 and ended in 1998. And as you might know, that there's a lot of collectors out there for all different things. Like my dad collected all different things. And there are people that I know who have unopened Coke cans that had like the limited edition the cans. And they have the year on them. There's people who have like entire rooms set aside for that. It's kind of like the Barbies, the Christmas Barbies. Every year, this is like their limited edition Coke cans. But anyway, so unopened bottles of Orbits are highly sought after. So if you have, perchance, you might be able to get some money off of it. It was a non-carbonated fruit beverage, if you didn't know what it was. It's a fruit-flavored beverage, so it wasn't actually fruit. And as I said before, I don't really like the flavors of like fake fruit. So I didn't drink it. So there's that. But when I was reading it, if you look it up on Wikipedia or Google or whatever, and when they're explaining to you it had little like round like pearls inside of it. And I wonder if that's where the fixation came from, originated with bubble tea. I know bubble tea was out. It's not ours, obviously, but I wonder if that's like where we kind of wanted to have that. I don't like bubble tea either, so just, I don't know. Anyway, so Mystic. Apparently, not a lot of people know about Mystic, and it wasn't really marketed. Their marketing was pretty much nil. It came out in 1987, and it went away in 2009. So it was around for a while, but it wasn't like highly pushed. So I think that's the reason why I kind of just went out. But it was known as the child's wine cooler because if you look at the bottle, it looks exactly like if you go to get Bartles and James, exact same bottle. So it's like your mom and dad will have their peach schnapps or whatever they have in the wine coolers, right? And then you can have your Mystic. So it had all different types of flavors. I never had it, although that would have been something I might have tried, just to be like my parents, be cool and all that, right? Crystal Pepsi. It came out in 1992 and lasted until 1994. I do remember Crystal Pepsi. I do remember trying it. I can't remember if I liked it. We were a big Coke family. That didn't sound right. Coca-Cola. And it was supposed to be less acidic. That was the whole point of it, to get the caramelization out of the soda, make you be able to drink it better. So I don't really know if its flavor was more like a Sprite, but that's like lemon and lime. I don't know. I can't remember, and I don't think they ever came back out with it, or even for the nostalgic purposes. But I do remember us having tried it. Hi-C Ecto Cooler. Now I know that they did have like 30th anniversary re-releases of it for Ghostbusters, and they did get their approval to be able to utilize Slimer's visage on the boxes and all that. So they actually had the actual flavor they had out prior. It was like a citrus flavor. And then they just rebranded it with Slimer on it so that it kind of pushed the marketing on that. And they obviously call it Ecto Cooler. I think it was called Citrus Cooler actually prior. And then they just added the Ecto part of it. And it more people were taking it. So 1987 to 1997, it was completely discontinued in 2001. But there have been resurgence of it for special occasion, like, the 30th anniversary, and just for nostalgic purposes. There was a push for it. Like, why some other companies choose to not heed that nostalgia. Like, they could be making a good amount of money just for like a limited release. They could be making quite a bit of money, especially right now. Nostalgia is like really huge right now with everything. That and Romanticy. That should be that I like I said in my previous podcast episode, I'm going to be doing another podcast that's not just it's not going to be just nostalgia. It's going to be day-to-day stuff that I want to talk about, some other weird stories of my own that I have, and I have lots of them. So I haven't sorted that out yet. I want to do this, and then maybe next week I'll have some time. Anyway, so the next is Surge. Now, I see that. I've seen it. However, I didn't have it. I didn't drink it. My brother probably tried it because he liked all that sort of stuff. But it was to compete with Mountain Dew. That was the whole point. It was discontinued in 2003. I'm not... I don't really like Mountain Dew, so I wouldn't have drunk Surge. Do you guys remember Tab? I think that's still out. It was supposed to be a healthier alternative to soda, to like normal soda. And when I was put on diets, Tab was like the alternative. The next is Hubba Bubba Bubble Jug, and the beepers that you can get back in the day with a bubble gum in it. I thought that was... I think I had the ones with the beepers, but the bubble jug was like... It was like powder. And it was so odd having it form into gum, but I liked the flavor, and I did have it. But it was hard to really. You're just pouring it into your mouth and swallowing half of it, and it's just dust. Parquet. My mom and dad would use it all the time. It was for breakfast. It was the squeezable margarine. I can't imagine how good that is. It's like plastic. And we don't use it now. We use I can't believe it's not butter. So I'm sure that's what. But I never actually had I can't believe it's not butter until I went to England and was found that where I stayed didn't have a whole lot. So they had like I stayed at somebody's house. So that's another story. If you would like to check out the other podcast, I will be advertising it, and those types of stories are going to be the ones that are on there. But anyway, this place that I was at only had like butter and bread, and I didn't have like a whole lot of money, and everything was much more expensive in England than U.S. currency. So I survived off of the kindness of others, and I can't believe it's not butter and bread. So I kind of from there, I enjoyed it, and I still buy it, the spreadable stuff, but not Parquet anymore. However, Parquet back in the day had the different colors. They were called Fun Squeeze, and it had like blue and red, I think it was, and it looked absolutely disgusting. It was kind of like the ketchup colors when they did the different ketchup colors. Like, I don't know what the fascination was to, I guess, make condiments more interesting to children to use. It's weird. I didn't use it. I think it's odd. I can only imagine. It's like that pink sauce that was a huge thing and turned out to be disgusting anyway. That's what it makes me think of. It's just nasty. But anyway, I don't know when that came out or whatever. I know Parquet is actually still out. I didn't realize that it was until I was in the refrigerated section, and I saw the squeeze bottle. They changed the way it looked. It's like blue now instead of the yellow. And I was like, oh my God, they still have that. Not that I'm going to buy it, but Reese's Swoops. I thought this was in the 90s, but apparently it came out in 2003 and ended in 2006. And if you haven't heard of Reese's Swoops, then that's okay, because the reason why they discontinued it is because when they did a survey of how many of their customers knew of them, only 14% of them knew of what Swoops were. So very small. They got rid of it. They had ones that were mint flavored chocolate. Had gotten those. They had special edition ones for like Christmas and Easter. And just imagine a Pringles chip with Reese's chocolate. That's what it looked like. So I don't know why they decided to have that. I think they just were trying to expand and come up with something different and, keep people, even though I think Reese's Pieces, because of ET, and then Reese's Peanut Butter Cups are going to be like a main staple. No, I don't like Reese's Pieces, by the way. I like peanut M&Ms. They're like, if I'm going to go with something. But, yeah, so they only 14%. That was very low, but I did know of them. So I was part of that 14%. Bonkers. Now, okay. This is what made me think of doing this episode. When I was younger, this came out in the mid 80s, and it was by Nabisco, and it was called Bonkers. I loved them. Every time we would go to the store, and they would be, when the impulse buy section when you're coming in to doing your lane checkout, they always had them there. We get it it would just come in with it's kind of like Starburst. So think of Starburst, but softer, because Starburst can be a little hard. It really depends on the package and how long they've been sitting there. But just imagine Starburst, but the interior of it had like a softer, richer flavor, and they said it was supposed to be more like a bitter, not bitter. What did they say it was? It was supposed to be like just a stronger flavor on the inside, and that's what it was. It was so good. The grape ones were the best. But they had like watermelon, grape, lime, lemon, orange, and cherry, I think. I think they had strawberry as well. I can't remember all of them. But Leaf Brands acquired Bonkers from Nabisco. And they stated, and I remember researching this when they got acquired, they plan to relaunch them. And they have like a Facebook page, and I think the last time that they actually uploaded or updated anything was in 2015, saying that they had just tried out the different flavors that they were coming up with, and they were happy with the results, but there's still nothing. It's 2024 now, so it's almost been 10 years. So I don't even know if Leaf Brands is still even around, or what else they put out besides this. But I'm hoping that maybe somebody will remember that they were supposed to be doing this and maybe re-release them, because I don't know if they'll taste the same. That's the only problem. And our memory from when we were younger, or at least I find that there are some things that you remember and then you get them now and you're like, this isn't, either they've changed it or it's just your memory just finds it to be more delicious than it is now. You know, our palates change, and our memory is always, especially when it comes to nostalgic memories. And if you have nostalgic memories in a sense of it being like a euphoric kind of happiness that you can rely upon that memory to give you. And so it's always like that much better, the rose-colored glasses kind of thing. And then when you re-experience it as an adult, one, you're no longer seeing it through a child's eyes, and you have all the other stresses of life and everything else that has come up on you kind of taints that innocence and that naivete about something. So perhaps if you were to have all of these things as they were originally, would they be as good? And is it because they might have changed something, or is it because we're remembering it better than it actually was? So that's always something that I always, there are things that I have tried and I'm like, this isn't how I remember it, because you might be remembering it so much better. It might not even have been that good. And last but certainly not least is not so much a snack or a drink, but when they use glass bottles. And now, apparently, they stopped doing glass bottles like mid-'80s, but there were some ones that still had glass bottles out in the early 90s. But I have pictures of, you can see in the background, like the glass Pepsi bottle or a glass 7-Up bottle or something like that. And we're trying to get rid of plastics right now. So, like, in the 70s is when they started to switch that over from glass to plastic. I don't know whether or not glass is just much more expensive to produce, but it's definitely better than plastic for the environment. So if I'm in New Jersey, so we can't use plastic bags anymore. And the amount of bags that I've accumulated because I keep forgetting them is immense. Or if you order it like Instacart or something like that, there are more bags that they bring in. So it's just like, oh God. So we can't use plastic bags anymore. So then therefore, I don't actually miss the plastic bags, because when they were starting to switch it over to more environmentally friendly, they weren't as strong. So you had to either double bag them. So you're using double anyway, or you couldn't have really heavy things because they would just break so technically having to use the reusable bags, they're much sturdier and you can carry more in them without it ripping through the bottom. So there's positives to it besides it being environmentally friendly. However, we are using plastics in so many other things that, because like we have the paper straws now. So I don't really know how much we're saving by getting rid of the bags and the straws when we have bottles. Yes, they are recyclable, but how many people recycle it? And how much of it is usable, and how much of it is still going into a landfill? I'm sorry, I don't know why I'm going into this, but I do miss the glass bottles. I mean, granted, if they drop, it shatters. I get like maybe with children and stuff like that, but just put it in one of those like sippy cups for them or something, or a tumbler or whatever with a top. But I miss that. I miss a lot of these snacks. And I don't know if it's because, all through history, when it came to snacks and drinks, they would come out with something that tasted good, and then you find out that something's not good about it. So there's a couple of things that I enjoyed and it's no longer available. And it's like, why? What happened? What caused it to be discontinued? Was it because of just sales, or was something wrong with it? So like Coke had Coke in it, and obviously it's highly addictive. So they changed it once they found out that the side effects of Coke were not good, cocaine, and they changed it to that to whatever it is they have now. And like, I'm not asking for that to come back, obviously, but There's other things that we've had and they've changed because, all right, so we're trying to be more healthy. Obviously, some of these snacks are not healthy. They're snacks, but we've eaten them multiple times in however many quantities. Mine probably way too much. But is it? Do we have equally as much bad for you things right now that we might see come in, like, say, 10, 20 years? I'd say 20 years, because how old am I now, right? So from the 90s to today, and then from today to, 2040, right? Will we say, those people come back and be like, oh yeah, you remember blah, 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 that was actually bad for you, So what do we have out now that could possibly be discontinued for some reason? Now, I've seen some things come out. Like, they had, like, the Coke had other flavors that they came out with. Some of them were absolutely disgusting. And there was, what was it, Starry? And then there was something else that just tasted utterly disgusting. We did try it. And then there was one that actually was really good from Pepsi. Not Pepsi, Dr. Pepper. That was very good. It was like a raspberry flavor. It was really good. Then they have, like, Dr. Pepper Black. That was nasty. So yeah, so you'll see, like, they're limited edition though. They didn't actually, like, just put them out as a whole line. So I think that's the difference. Like, back then they would be like, we have a great idea, let's put out a line of them. So they would mass produce this stuff, put it out as like a regular product they would have on as an option, and then they find out it wasn't that good. So now it's like limited edition. See how many people are, like, the supply and demand. So if they see one that's super popular, you might see it come again, or maybe they'll have it as, like, a staple now as a part of their product line. So I don't know. I don't know if they've just gotten smarter with their marketing and research, or they just they just don't have that creativity anymore. I don't know. But some of the stuff I do wish they brought back. There was nothing necessarily wrong with them. It was just, either they didn't feel like they were getting enough money from it, or they just didn't. I don't know. Maybe it was, like, production problems. Who knows? But yeah, I miss it. Bonkers, come on. Leaf Brands, if you're still around, can you make these Bonkers again, please? And the only other thing that I would be, like, really, really happy to see back again, the Planters, the chocolate crisps. I don't care about the PB ones. If you never see them again, that's fine. Really, I think that's... Oh, and the Dorito, the Cooler Ranch. Yeah, that was the other one. Yeah, there was nothing else that I was like... I know a lot of people want that Orbits to come back. People loved those. But there was a bunch of other ones. This is just a small selection. And I did add, like, ones that I don't necessarily have tried, but I knew of them, or I knew somebody who had them, or, my brother or my mom or whatever would have it. So, yeah. So if you have any other, want to add in, or if you want to talk about, if you want me to have a part 2, because there's a couple of them a couple of ones that I've done that I could do a part 2, like the commercials. I kind of want to do that again. I really enjoyed doing that. I did collections. I don't know if I need to do that more of, but there was a couple of them that I know that I could have done a whole other slew of them. So when I figure out which ones those are, I will probably do that again. So if you have any other, suggestions for what you would like to talk about, or anything you might want me to discuss about my own past for nostalgia purposes. Otherwise, I will be having another podcast that's about everyday things and, like, random and weird stories that possibly hilarious stories of my life that I, some good, some bad. Otherwise, the good, bad, and the ugly. Maybe that's what the podcast would be called. Probably one already out there. So I'll have to figure out how I want to do that, where I want to draw a line at, and where I want to go forward with it. So we'll see when I have some time, which will be next week. I have surgery coming up, so that's good. Getting something sorted out, and I have respite, so my mom will be out for that week. So I'll have more time to, like, sit and healing, so maybe I can sit and think of some titles and what I want to do. Well then, thank you so much for listening, and as always, I appreciate every single one of you that listens to any of my podcast episodes. If you enjoy them, or if you don't enjoy them, if you like others more than the other ones, whatever, if it even sparks some memory, I hope that helps, because I know right now we're living in a time that's kind of weird, and social media is horrible. we need some lighthearted stuff, and that's why I like watching a lot of the stuff that's nostalgia based, and it gets me thinking like, oh yeah, I remember that, and it just makes you feel better, like good for that moment. So I hope I can spark that in you in some of these. So thank you again for listening. I hope you will listen to any of the other ones. I've just updated all of my podcast RSS feeds because some of them I didn't realize were not working properly. So you should be okay now with iTunes, Spotify, Podbean, Amazon Podcasts, iHeartRadio Podcasts. Google's now YouTube. YouTube is all good. That uploads automatically. And then my website at www.gabriellecataldi.com. And if you know, http:// you know, just gabriellecataldi.com. Everything's on there. Everything is on YouTube and on Spotify and on iTunes. Everything that is all good to go. But all the other ones, something happened. I don't know what, but I think I changed something on the website and it just messed up on those other ones for some reason. But we're good now. So please check out my Facebook page that is specifically for this podcast. Go have a follow because I will post when I have uploaded. Follow on Spotify so you can get alerted when there's a new episode. And check out my website. I have my blog posts, I have my writing, and I will have my body of work that I've been working on, and possibly at some point, which I have been making some headway with my novel. So we'll see. I'm not making any promises since this novel has been started in 2010. So, hey, okay. Well, thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode and check out the rest of them. This has been That 80s Child, the Generation Y. And my name is Gabrielle, and I'm so happy that you listened. Check out the next one. Thank you so much. Bye.